My name is Kelson and I will be talking about attention deficit disorder. I would like to talk about first the drugs that are prescribed to children for ADHD have an infinitely higher potential for danger than ADHD itself has on the child or anybody around the child. I think that researching ADHD and the prescriptions that follow is important to me and my audience due to the proximity to our home. That is that the majority of the cases of diagnosed and prescribed ADHD and the amphetamines prescribed for it are in New England. Additionally, the culture that revolves around education is what is currently putting children in risk of addiction to these Schedule II drugs that are, on a federal level, Schedule II, deeming them extremely dangerous. In addition to research, I am talking from experience. I was diagnosed with ADHD in high school, and I was immediately prescribed amphetamines as a medication to cope with that. And the side effects were laid out for me, and I chose to use it anyways. I immediately saw the positive effects on my grades, and the reinforcement from everybody around me, being fellow students, my teacher, my physician, and my parents, were all positive. The reinforcements for taking these drugs. But I also knew that part of my personality was definitely being muted, if you will. I think that the most consistent aspect of the massive number of diagnoses is the educational setting where the symptoms are observed. And this immediately brings the setting into question for me, not the individual. So I think that the culture around education really needs to take a critical look at the setting of education. Excuse me. Additionally, the research of such a setting, the result of such a setting on an individual leads them to be prescribed this dangerous medication. That is, not only is the environment not being looked at critically, but the child is looked at critically. The child is then changed to fit what I think should be critically looked at in the environment. I think that taking this into consideration, we can say that changing a child's mind to fit the environment is wrong. The environment should be changed so that it is more capable of suiting the individual. I think that there are other ways to cope with symptoms of ADHD for professional educators and for parents. I think educating those who interact with the children about the effects of ADHD, educating people who interact with the children is known to benefit the children and the individuals who are interacting with the children. Other aspects of learning, such as class size and activity level in the course or the class, are extremely important when considering a child's attention span and whether or not they're able to pay attention. I believe that the way we currently educate our children from 1st to 12th grade is outdated, and this is absolutely known to be a factory style of learning. And this factory style of learning about 100 years ago would mimic the career that these children would later have, or likely later have, but they just don't anymore. And the truth is that some children are simply incapable of learning in this style. People in our society are currently expected to require more focus and a tighter attention span between the ages of 8 and 18 than they will in their entire career. And this is absurd, and I think that it's proved through the fact that we medicate children to keep their attention, but we don't medicate adults. The prevalence of adults being newly medicated with amphetamines for ADHD is almost none, and there are graphs later to show that. It is also important to note that the drugs prescribed to these children are known to inhibit certain creative functions, and these functions are integral to the experience of being a child. I believe that these drugs can absolutely rob a child of their childhood. Additionally, I would like to say that the goal of my research is to prove to myself and to my audience that changing a child's mind before changing the environment is wrong. And to do so, and then to also claim that you are doing so for the sake of the student, is additionally wrong, and probably worse. I have a pretty strong opinion that we as a society need to educate parents and educators on methods of negotiating with the symptoms of ADHD instead of just muting impulses of children that are trying to but are incapable of learning in the fashion that is presented to them. There's a lot of data that I have gathered and some figures and graphs and maps that you can look at. They clearly show the prevalence in New England and the Northeast of the United States. And they really make it clear how regional that this is and how it is affecting our region the most. But yeah, I think in conclusion, I think that the solution is not medicating first and then asking questions later once the grades have gone up. Because of course, once grades have gone up, like I did myself, I was basically in denial of any negative consequences of the medication and was just willing to lie on physicians' tests and stuff like that and questions from my parents just in order to keep those grades up because I knew that it was making me and others happy. I think that child's, especially, their personality shouldn't be muffled for the sake of better grades. I mean, for many reasons, mainly because that this is not the only solution. And also the culture surrounding education just has room to change. It's not set in stone. It's something that can be changed. Yeah, and I think that it's extremely important for us to just really think differently about how we learn as a society and as a culture. But I have questions for the audience, or for you, Professor Guttilla. If you are comfortable sharing, have you or anyone in your family ever been diagnosed with ADHD, and if so, was medication the solution? After learning about some potentially new aspects of educational culture and ADHD, do you think we should medicate children with symptoms? What are some of the ideas for helping to remedy ADHD symptoms without the use of invasive medication? I would truly love to hear some opinions and some stories from everybody. And then, of course, my works cited page. Thank you.